everyone to yet another episode of Game On, a series started by G2G.News, where we have conversations with various stakeholders in the gaming industry. Today we have with us Mr. Sreeram Reddy Vanga, an entrepreneur who wears many hats. Sri is the founder of Classic Rummy, which was recently acquired by Nazara Technologies. Besides being in the online skill-based gaming space, Sri has also run Cozy Games, bingo and casino operations in UK, which was acquired by Entain, and he's also the partner of Hustle Partners, which is a venture capital fund. So, welcome Sri to Game On. It's good to have you.
Thanks so much, Jay. Good evening and pleasure to be on the show with you.
Is there anything you would like to add on to the introduction if I had missed anything?
No, I think you pretty much got it covered, Jay. It was a very kind introduction. Maybe just the party gaming, that's how I got introduced to the online world of online gaming. So I think I should acknowledge the place where I cut my teeth. So 2002 to 2005 is part of the early party gaming team, which went IPO on the LSE. One of the first, largest, and legendary companies. So I owe everything I am today to what I had learned by working under the highly accomplished founders of party gaming.
So, can you tell us more about how you went about starting Classic Rummy and what is the portfolio and offerings you have today?
Sure, Ajay. So we started this business, which we call OpenPlay Technologies, in 2012. So we started off with a standard 13-card rummy, and it was a company that we built organically on the back of product strength. So we never raised any money. So OpenPlay is a 100% owned company, and we never raised any debt. So we were very conservative in terms of reinvesting the profits and then slowly growing it organically year on year from then. And so that's kind of been our journey. And what we've done is that we've also added the vision to turn it into a super app, which offers multiple games, was something that we've been looking since 2018. And as part of that journey, we've added fantasy sports in 2019. And very recently, we've added poker as well. And we are in the process of integrating a few other casual games. So that should be done either by the end of this month or mid of next month. So we should be a full-fledged super app in few weeks to come right now.
So all these games are available on the Classic Rummy platform, or is there any other platform you started for?
So there's only one platform. So we've started with a couple of other brands. When we first launched Fantasy, we had a separate brand, and that's because we wanted to test our software, not expose it immediately. So we created a separate brand and we did some testing there. But now what we've done is we've put everything into the Classic Rummy app, and with the next release, we will also be rebranding Classic Rummy as Classic Games.
Okay.
Because Rummy will just going to be one of the dozen games that we'll be offering as part of the portfolio. So we'll have to clean up the naming when it comes.
Right. Also, although we focus mainly on India, what I found very interesting was your journey with Cozy Games, where probably you are one of the only or one of the very few companies or entrepreneurs which based in India. You started a setup in a regulated market like UK. How was it operating in a highly regulated market like UK and the acquisition by Entain?
So that was actually a very, very interesting journey, Ajay. So basically, even till today, we are the only Indian origin company to be licensed by the UK Gaming Commission. Otherwise, they're very, very strict because it's not just... so UK, if you look at it, is one of the first jurisdictions that legalized online betting and started giving licenses. So it's a very, very mature jurisdiction, and they have a very, very stringent licensing and code of conduct when it comes to that. And so the way they do it is that they identify the company, you apply for a license, you get it. But even the principals of the company have their own license. Right. And you have to make sure that pretty much all these licenses are in good standing. And you would not only need to comply with the gaming regulations, which prescribe very detailed in terms of underage gaming, what processes and procedures you need to have in order to make sure that nobody who's under 18 is playing. The second thing is you need to make sure that you do income verification, so that anybody who's gaming, you have to have enough evidence to show that whatever limits you gave them to play every month or every rolling 30 days is within their affordability. And then you have to understand and run a lot of algorithms around problem gaming, because typically when people lose money, they may chase money or they may be spending money which they borrowed. So
Right.
you have to do all those kind of algorithms to make sure that they're not chasing money that they don't have. You obviously have to give them self-exclusion, so that in case they recognize and realize they have a problem, then they should be allowed a cool-off period or a self-exclusion. And of course, KYC, stringent conditions, gaming standards, everything is certified, everything is tested. You also have to comply with the entire EU regulation around anti-money laundering, and most importantly, the UK advertising standards
Right.
in terms of how you advertise. You could win up to, you may win up to, all those things are not allowed, right? So you have to be very, very specific in terms of what is the offer that you have, and nothing should be in a tempting or alluring nature.
I think, and I've always maintained most of these regulations are very, very possibly the highest standards globally, and India should probably look on these lines. I think UK is the best possible model in terms of a regulatory approach which India wants, but of course, I think we are heading in a slightly different direction, and that was going to be my question as well, that with recent developments, of course, Madras High Court gave a very positive ruling in terms of striking down the law which banned online rummy and other online games. But how do you see the regulatory concerns around the industry playing out? And do you think the industry itself should try to be more responsible?
So I think I'll take the second part first, Jay. That's the easier part, right? In terms of industry being responsible. See, I have been a very, very strong advocate of that, right?
Right.
So 2012, everybody started, 14, 15 different organizations, different consortiums started coming together to understand, how we can represent our industry in good light. And, I've been a very, very strong advocate saying that, guys, let's not play for the short term.
Yeah.
Let's play for the long term, and let's ensure that everything that we do is extremely responsible. I think most of the operators have been responsible, but we've had, a few bad apples who have not been all that responsible. And I think the repercussion of that is what we are facing right now, right? Because governments will always overreact.
Yeah.
I mean, this is at a very early nascent stage, this industry in India. I think operators themselves are trying to comprehend this industry, leave alone, the external people to the industry, and especially the governments, right? They will overreact to that. So I think how we carry ourselves is going to play a very important role on how they perceive us.
Right.
And having said that, I think all the ban that we've been seeing starting from 2017 have been extremely strong knee-jerk reactions. Look, this is something new. It's going big. We don't understand it. We can't comprehend it right now. So let's just go ahead and ban it.
Right.
So I think that has been the strong approach. And since then, the governments also have started to realize, saying that, hey, you know what? Did we actually throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And I think some amount of that, introspection is happening there as well. And definitely, the Madras High Court ruling is very, very progressive, and a great relief for us. And I think that as a basis, with the industry carrying itself in a very responsible manner, I think we have a good future.
And I think other states also realizing, the states that banned. I would just like to point out that something very positive came out recently, where the IT secretary of Telangana also pointed out that we are trying to change the regulations, and we are looking at. He openly admitted, in fact, that ban is not the right approach, and
Absolutely.
he's personally trying to convince the government to look at a regulatory approach instead. But as you said, there are always a few bad apples, and the point is that when someone goes all out, forgetting all the norms or the self-regulatory points which all the operators decide, and then it's like a losing. Other operators feel they are losing out on the action, when someone goes out there and tries to acquire players aggressively. Self-regulation is probably not working where, people come together, but there will always be that one person who will say, I don't agree with this and I'll go all out and do my own thing. Do you agree that self-regulation is probably not something that is working?
I could not have articulated it better than you have, Jay. Um, See, that's the challenge with self-regulation, right? That what is the repercussion for that? There is no repercussion, right?
Yeah.
And you will always have these guys who want to exploit the opportunity, right? And try to take advantage of the fact that the other operators are being responsible. So let me just cross the line and see if I can get ahead of them. Uh, so I think from that perspective, see, I've always been a strong advocate saying that, look, you should regulate this business. And in fact, I have another strong reason why we should regulate this business, right? Is because if you regulate this business, then you will have extremely strong prim and proper operators, right?
Right.
Today, anybody and everybody who can get a payment gateway and try to build
Yeah.
like poker or rummy is able to operate, right? I mean, there's no barriers to this, right? I'm not saying we need to have barriers, but at least the barrier should be some sort of, okay, who has evaluated this, right? So when you apply for a license in UK, they actually run your file through Interpol, Europol, check your educational backgrounds, check at your resume. You have to appear in front of the gaming committee, and you have to basically talk about what your credentials, right? And then they decide whether you're prim or proper, right? And basis of the paperwork and the basis of how you make your presentation. So today, unless we have a strong regulation in place, you will not be able to filter out the good from the bad.
No, I completely agree. And in fact, I think unfortunately, there may be some people in the industry today who are not having the right antecedents. It's a sad reality, but I think it's probably true that there might be people in the industry who don't have right antecedents. So I'm absolutely with you on the regulation bit. Also, moving on, wanted to talk about your strategies for marketing and user acquisition, given that the space is pretty competitive and there are many large players. So how do you see yourself differentiating from the rest of the players?
So we're working on quite a lot of areas for that, Jay. In terms of product improvements, one big leap that we have done is basically said that, look, we'll not be a standalone property operating one game on one portal, another game, another portal. We'll bring them all together. So that's one shift. And with that, we have to do a lot around the user experience of the single wallet and optimizing the lobby when it comes to ensuring that the right games are shown to the right users. And we're also looking at coming up with some new short format games, which will be very quick, more on the entertainment side, not the intense games like poker and rummy, which take a while which take skill and substantial amount of time investment to play the game. So we're looking at shorter format games. So that's as far as the product is concerned. In terms of acquiring customers, we've been conservative so far, but now that we're acquired by Nazara and we have a much larger muscle when it comes to marketing power and we're part of a much larger company, I think we will be going aggressive in terms of marketing, but we will do it in a very, very responsible way of acquiring customers. And we've also recently launched an influencer layer wherein influencers can invite their followers to come and play on the portal, and it'll be a specialized landing page to that influencer, and the influencer will be able to make a revenue share. So we think this is slightly disruptive, and we want to do a deep customization inside this so that we start going a little bit more broader in terms of our acquisition strategy.
Talking about brand ambassadors, a lot of the other brands do have ambassadors or celebrities endorsing them. Are you actually looking at it? Do you see value in it, or this influencer strategy you feel works better?
So we've not at the moment considering any brand ambassadors, at least not this year.
Right.
So maybe in our discussions next year, if we feel that it's right to bring on board a brand ambassador, then we will start, brainstorming on who and when and how we need to do that. But
Right.
Now there are no plans to bring on a brand ambassador.
Since you have focused mainly on Rummy till now, and it's based heavily on the South market, how are you diversifying to the other regions across India and not just South. If you can share some, details of your geographical spread of the user base, and with the multilingual platform, is that the strategy moving forward to focus on other regions besides South?
So part of the reason why legacy business was focused on the south is because legacy business was predominantly rummy business, as I you pointed out, where most of the market is towards the south. But we quickly realized that that's a geographic risk for the business. And when we started looking at diversifying outside of the south, we realized that you need a different product mix, right? So the Hindi speaking states, fantasy sports is very popular, poker is quite popular, short format games is quite popular. So ever since we introduced fantasy, we're focusing more on the northern markets, and now that we've also introduced poker, we'll go a little bit more heavy on the HSM markets. And also the short format games that we're building, they're predominantly focused on the northern India.
And how many languages do you have your platform currently in?
So at the moment, it's still English, Jay, but by the end of this year, we should be multilingual. So the platform is already capable. We are working on the translations as we speak.
Right.
So we should be a super app by the end of October, and by November, December, we should also be multilingual. So we're looking at 5 languages.
And finally, I wanted to talk about the Nazara acquisition and how the synergies with Nazara will work, because Nazara as a group has a lot of companies under it as its subsidiaries. So how will synergies work with the other real money gaming businesses of Nazara and the other businesses of Nazara? And can you share some details of the acquisition as well?
Sure, Jay. So we are very excited actually that we are actually part of Nazara. So I've known Nitish and Manish for a very long time now. Since 2017, we've been good friends, and kind of know each other very well. And so over the years, when we've had several conversations, we felt that, look, I mean, we have a very ambitious plan, and Nazara was always very conservative about RMG, but they finally decided that, what, it's not an area which we should ignore, and we want to take a leap of faith. So that's when we sat down and we said, hey, you know what, I think together we are more stronger. So let's do it together. And so they already have a certain portfolio of RMG games, and we're now seeing how we can share liquidity, because in especially multiplayer games, 1+1 is 3. So that's where we have a great fantasy product. So we are still early into fantasy, but they have a great fantasy product. So how we can the customers of Classic benefit from the expertise that Hala has, and similar, how can Hala, which is recently entered to Rummy, benefit from the experience that we have in Rummy, and so on and so forth. So we're exploring all those synergies and trying to come up with a solution where we can create a lot of value going forward.
And are you looking at any geographical expansion beyond India?
So that's definitely on the cards, Jay. And so I think we're almost at September right now. So I think the rest of this year would be to tighten everything around RMG in India, to launch a super app, to exploit all the synergies within the group companies and all that. So we'll be quite busy doing all that this side of the year. But early next year, Q1 of next year, we will aggressively start to look at international markets. And as you know, most of my experience also has been in international markets. So I started my career with party gaming in 2002. So that's almost till 15 years that I spent in overseas markets, compared to the 9 years I spent in the Indian market. So we should definitely find a way to exploit that.
Thank you very much, Sri, for your time. It was great having you. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, then do press the subscribe button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, do subscribe to the G2G social media pages given in the link description. We'll be back next week with another episode of Game On. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jay.